righty, welcome to Real Migos. We have a special guest. I need you in the chat right now to write in who you think the special guest is. This is a very special guest, correct, Ian?
It is very special. You're in for a real treat.
You are in for a real treat. I like Joe's comment here about the headshot. I'm sure you were looking at my headshot in there. I don't got time to get no damn headshots, Joe.
I've never had a professional headshot.
I'm too busy selling homes and creating content. No, just kidding around, man. All right, nobody's writing in. Who's the person? Who's our guest? Who is our guest? Our guest is sitting back here, Elon Musk. Joe, you are 100% right. Ready? Are you guys ready for Elon Musk? Here we go. On the count of 3, we have Mullet Musk in the house right here.
Mullet Musk.
Surprise, it's Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
Oh, man. We got
it's Ro Jogan.
Yeah, Slow Jogan. All right. Kevin Jogan. Knight back in the house. Mr. What cool names did we have for you back in the day, man? Forget.
I don't remember. Mullet Master.
The masterful mullet.
Masterful mullet. Benevolent beret for Ian.
Mullet Master works. Mullet Master, I like it.
Better than Elon.
Mayor of Mullet Town or Mulletopia.
Oh yeah. What was the town that we were going to build? Was it
Mulletopia? Mullet. I don't remember. It's a good thing I still have this bad boy, though. I'm going to be one of those guys like that, from the 1980s, like 30 years later, he's got the mullet and driving a Monte Carlo. You know what I mean? The Camaro cut.
I love
It's going to be me 20, 30 years from now. I'm going to still have this stupid haircut. I can't get rid of it.
Nice. All right. Well, everybody, thanks for tuning in. We got a lot to talk about. I got a lot of new subscribers that have come through thanks to a video the other day that I put out, kind of talking about not necessarily the positive things about Austin, but what's kind of coming to Austin. And really what I want to talk about tonight is kind of go over some of those things. So we'll look at that. I put out a video yesterday and I talked about the Chapter 313 incentives ending. So we're going to talk a little bit about that in a little more detail here. And then I also want to talk about what we're actually seeing in the market. There was a comment on the YouTube channel yesterday when I made a post. And it was somebody talking about, and I'll pull it up here in a second, talking about the fact that it's hard to buy a home even right now, just because there's a lot of competition. So I want to hear from both of you. We'll start with Mullet Mania. What are you seeing those first 3 weeks in the market of the new year? I feel like I've seen a change, but I want to hear from y'all, and then I'll pull up that comment.
I mean, for me personally, I had a lot of contact with clients. I've shown a lot of houses. I've shown as many properties in the last month as I've shown probably in like 9 months of last year, if I'm being honest, just for myself. I know it sounds like an exaggeration, but it's not. I actually last couple weeks ago, thought I was going to put at least 3 or 4 people under contract, and it didn't work out yet because we haven't found the right place for those people. But the reality is that they're looking and they are wanting to buy. And these are financially stable, well-off investing clients that are now ready to put their money back into something. And it looks like they're really seriously more considering real estate than maybe any other avenues. So personally, I see it picking up. My business is picking up. And I don't know if you guys are seeing the same, but that's what I'm seeing.
Yeah. What are you seeing, Ian?
Yeah, it's similar in that, like, I have people that have come to me. They're like, hey, can we go see some stuff? Sure enough, we go out, and same day they're like, okay, let's put in an offer. They're ready. Like, it's interesting how ready they are now versus not even 2 weeks ago. Same with listings. And I know you were talking about this too. I have a few listings that I have one in particular that was sitting for a while, and now no problem. It went right away. We changed the pictures. The interest rates dropped. People got excited, got tons of showings, and we're good to go. So new listings coming up. It's moving faster than I think most people expect based on what they hear on the news.
Yeah. And so here's the comment that I was talking about. So real quick, all of my listings have gone. I've had 4 listings at the market. All of them have gone under contract already the beginning of this month. What's up, Kevin from Lakeland, Florida? What's up, man? So all my stuff, we've had buyers that were sitting on the sidelines are finally getting back in. Now, what happens is people hear me say something like that, and they automatically accuse me of trying to be a realtor to sell homes. I'm just trying to give you an idea of what's actually happening, what we're seeing. Now, there is importance to look at data because data does come out. And I did a video yesterday breaking down kind of the truth of like what's happening with the housing market crash, quote unquote. A lot of people are like, oh, well, Goldman Sachs said this. Kevin, how far are we down right now from the peak of last year?
Oh, I mean, I don't know the exact number, but I think it's, I don't know, 20%.
Right around 20%.
Yeah.
Right. Ian, what do you think we're at down from the peak at 667? What are we at now?
The peak at 667. Oh
Yeah.
gosh.
We're down to 525 right now in Austin.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's a 21% negative if you were to go year over year right now.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is Austin puts out the numbers and they go, oh, we're only down 5%. So people are like, oh, the market's going to crash even more. And this is what I'm trying to like explain to people is like, hey, you know, the market year over year looks gloomy, but we're looking at it at the beginning of the year and it's really picked up for me. It's picked up for you guys. I mean, we put a lot under contract, but here's a comment that kind of sparked off a little controversy. In Greater Austin, we went open house. We went to some open houses a couple weeks. Buyers are out looking and all. Anyway, basically this comment's just saying like, hey, it's been super busy already. And so we went back and forth, just kind of chatting a little bit here. And this guy, Kyle, said the same thing. My experience with me, girlfriend and I have been looking at houses for the last quarter of 2022, right after the first of the year. Seemed like half of Redfin's faves went under contract. And somebody else even replied, yeah, I'm a buyer. Most of my saves went under contract. So it is definitely picking up a little bit. Hey, Tony, I'm going to give you a little heart and thumb. Here we go. I'll have to come back and read these. So that is what I am currently seeing in the comment section. If you're seeing this type of movement, I want to hear from you. Real Migos is back. What's up? What's up, J-Dog? So anyway, go ahead, Ian.
I was going to say, I think it's a really good point that you made earlier that people are accusing you of just trying to be a realtor, but really all we're doing, especially, you know, us, that's why people tune in. All we're doing is saying, this is what we're seeing. This is what we're seeing. It's that simple.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting, you know, another comment that I had from that video, somebody was basically saying that maybe it wasn't that, maybe it was a post I made, but some people are saying like, oh, you know, sellers aren't being realistic in their pricing. I think it's interesting to blanket statement that all sellers are being realistic. You have to understand sellers have a base of what they can go down to and what they can't go past. So if they bought something 2 years ago, yeah, maybe they are being unrealistic, but I just had a seller that we're under contract right now. I don't want to say where or what, because I've had a lot of people reach out to me about this property. We list the price kind of based on where things have dropped. So we priced it pretty aggressively and we had multiple offers over list price. And it's where we said it should. If we would have priced it at this price, hands down, it would have sat on the market. But we priced it under it and it sold for the price that it should have listed for. Does that make sense? So I think if you're a seller right now, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's really important if you're a seller right now going into this, make sure you price it kind of a little lower than you think you should sell it. I mean, there's strategies, but what do you think?
Yeah.
Dude, that is so interesting. I was in a property yesterday. It's like 3.5 million. And I looked it around and then I looked at the house and I'm like, maybe 2.2. Like it was so ridiculously overpriced. And obviously it's been sitting for a while. I don't understand that, why they would let it sit that way. But yeah, I've seen a lot move that are priced average or aggressively, like you were saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, but there are still a few people that are doing that, playing that game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So the question then becomes thoughts on Goldman Sachs 25% drop in 2023 to 2024 in Austin. Let me pull up some information. So we were just talking about this pre-show and I'll pull up let's add this back. It was right. Okay. So basically Goldman Sachs is saying that San Jose, California, Austin, Phoenix, and San Diego will likely see the bottom and bust declines more than 25%. We just said that they're at 20 1-ish% right now. If you're comparing the peak of last year, we're really rolling down 4%. At the end of this year, though, here's what's really interesting about this, and it doesn't really give context, because I'm going to pull up the context. And you guys tell me if I'm wrong. But where do we go? Where's my stats? Here we go. So I made a chart the other day about this. I put it on the channel. So if you look at the peak here at 667, if we stayed at 525 where we're at right now, and we ended the year, we'll be positive, if not straight on the line. But in the middle of the year, we're going to see negative 21% because we're already at 667. So if the prices go down, because I imagine January's numbers, and you guys tell me if I'm wrong, January's numbers probably will be lower than 525, but February's numbers are going to bounce back up, kind of like what we saw in this 2022 line, where it went from 550 to 565. And then we'll probably see it bounce back up to 530, 540, and probably peak out around 550, 555, which is still going to be down 17, 18%. I mean, what are you guys' thoughts as far as like what we're going to see in the market? And are we really going to be over 25% down?
So I've been visiting a lot of different new construction communities, and the builders, the amount of incentives that they're putting in place, you can talk about what they're playing with, the price and all that. It doesn't really matter, because the amount of incentives are getting people to walk through the doors. And so just like you were saying, we'll see one more month of lower numbers, but then you're going to start seeing spikes and spikes and spikes as those builds are closing.
Yeah. Aaron says that he doesn't think prices will go up. I don't think we'll be here. Here's what's interesting. I don't think that we're going to be over. If you look at the 2021 numbers right here, you guys tell me if I'm wrong. We peaked on 2021 at 575. Do you think that we're going to get over in the middle of this year that we're going to compete with 575 for Austin? Do you think we're going to compete with 575, which is 2021 numbers? This is something I haven't brought up yet, but do you think we'll cross over the 2021 numbers?
I think
over
so.
575.
Why do you think so? Why do you think so?
2023.
Kevin?
Because the only thing I've been waiting to see is, and I think I said this last time and maybe even said it last year, is that people want to know that there's stability, even if it's higher, like even if the market is, or anything, no matter what you're looking at, they just want stability. So if you're buying a product, if there's a lot of volatility in the product, they'd rather be like, okay, let me just see what's happening. But the moment that there's forward momentum towards it, especially if the demand has been really high and people are hanging out, then they want to pile money back into the market. And so the two really obvious ones right now are like crypto space and in the stock market space. Those are, you're seeing these like little mini bull runs because people are like ready to go. And I think that now the interest rates are supposedly going to level out, even if they level out this year at 5.5%, and that becomes the new norm, I think you're going to see a lot of people come back onto the market during this time. So what that means is the builders that you were just talking about, the builders that had incentives for properties that they maybe have started last time when the prices were higher, they're coming to the end of that. So new builds now should be more in line with the projections that they thought based on the recent data, which means that they likely haven't overbuilt those homes. So I can easily see, as people are coming back into the market and we're playing this rubber band snap of demand being higher than supply, then 525 to 570 is an easy reach to get to that point. It's not much of a percent difference. So I don't see that. And we have all year to do that. So I think interest rates will stabilize during the spring. And I think people will pour back into the market just like they were before. And I think it'll at least get to 575, maybe 600.
Aaron says, I'm almost ready to buy again. Just need the right deal. I think that's the case for a lot of people, right? I mean, and that goes to the comment that I had. And I wasn't trying to, and by the way, Byron Lazine, if nobody knows Byron Lazine, Byron, what's up? If you're still here, say what's up again. Byron Lazine was with Inman now. So Inman big in the real estate space as far as like real estate content or real estate like news. But now he runs BAM with Eric Simon, the broke agent. And so if you're ever looking for real estate news, look at BAM. So great stuff that comes out of there. Byron, if you're still there, here's a shout out for you. But But the comment that I was getting from somebody else was that like sellers weren't being realistic. And so that goes to the same point is if you're looking for a deal, then sure. Yeah. Most sellers aren't going to be realistic to you getting a deal. What are your thoughts?
No, sellers don't want to give you a deal.
Yeah.
I mean, and especially like, so I'm trying to negotiate, and I may or may not get it, but I'm trying to negotiate a deal with the builder right now where they have an inventory home that is a nice inventory home. It's maybe more than I probably would have bought, but it's actually a lot less than I think what it's worth in a couple of years. They're offering pretty good incentives on that. And I've been trying to get them to come down even further off of that. And I've had a little bit of success in terms of like, like I don't care how you do it, if you're doing rebates or more commission or whatever, but I want the overall net to be lower. But they're really trying as hard as they can to keep the price that they record on the sale as high as possible, because the builders want to keep their prices very, very high. And builders are a large part of the selling market. And I think other sellers too right now, in my opinion, a seller coming into the market right now has more realistic expectations, but they also aren't going to liquidate now either. They feel the same way I think I do, in that this is still a solid market. They're not as motivated maybe to sell. Get a great example. I had a listing late last year. We listed for 1.5. It didn't get activity, obviously. And so we pulled it off the market in November. I chatted with them yesterday about putting it back on the market. And I showed them what they could buy now, similar to their house. Long story short is that they have a low interest rate on a very nice home. So they now are way less motivated to sell this house. So a seller is going to be holding that same line. They're like, hey, I want this price for my house because this is how much it's worth to me. And in order for me to go somewhere else and get a higher interest rate on a lesser house, this needs to be a compelling price for me. Otherwise, if I don't sell it, I'll just stay here. And that's, I think, what they're doing.
Yeah, it needs to be a heavy need, like a relocation, an opportunity because it's just a ridiculous deal, or part of their investment strategy. Maybe they're doing the BRRRR strategy and they have to jump from one place to the next. And so they want to move. So yeah, otherwise there's really no point in them taking a hit or a loss if they don't have to. Why would you do that? And
I was going to say, as far as like the builders go, so I have a client that's getting ready to close in a month. And they're like, hey, we still don't like this price anymore. And we went back to the builder. I'm not going to say which builder it is, but we went back to the builder and go, hey, look, we're not going to close in a month. And they're fine. They're like, all right, we're going to lose $3,000 in earnest money. We know that. And the builder's like, all right, well, what do you want the price to be? So it's interesting that builders are still like, if you were to go to a builder now, they're still pretty competitive. Like they're not just going to give it away. In fact, I was at a Highland Home agent event the other day and they were like, we're giving 4%. We're doing this. We're doing this. We're going to give your clients 20 grand. So I think builders they still know that the worst isn't behind them, yet they're not going to just give properties away either, because just like Byron said here, Byron says, I agree with you guys. The worst of mortgage rates should be in the rearview mirror. Now we need inventory to go up so affordability levels out. So if we don't get enough inventory hitting the market, then yeah, I mean, prices will stabilize. And that's why when I did my video yesterday, I kind of highlighted the fact that, let's just say theoretically the price stays at 525 the entire year here in the Austin area, we'll still end up positive. Now we're not going to be over 2021 numbers and we're not going to be over 2022 numbers. Yeah. And Byron keeps putting the lion up here because at Real Broker, we are the silent lion, and he's trying to bait me into a debate with another brokerage. Kevin, you're probably pretty aware of this brokerage. I have no problem debating. Our brokerage is better, in my opinion. But hey, that's just me. Not everybody's going to agree. Anyway, Ian, 20K, that gets solar panels?
So to Kevin's point, when he was talking about, talking more about the incentives, what the builders are doing, they're not adjusting sales price, right? Not really. They've already done that a lot. What they're doing instead is they're baking in what used to be this huge number, but they're giving you portions of incentive. So they're giving you a little bit on interest rate. It might be like 10,000 to buy down your interest rate. And then they're giving you extra upgrades or money towards design center and towards upgrades. They're not just saying, well, you've got this money, let's take it off the sales price. That would be fun, but they don't want to do that. They want to hold the number, just like Jeremy said.
And if you're a realtor negotiating, I mean, what I'm going to try to do, as much as I can possibly scrounge together enough cash to do so, is I'm going to try to buy at least a couple of houses from builders as soon as I can, because they are at the tail end of inventory that they've been holding on to for a while. They are very incentivized right now. They will be way less incentivized when demand picks up for them.
My wife and I are looking right now. That exact same reason.
They'll instantly remove all incentives, like overnight. They'll remove an incentive. So, but what you can do is that realtors' commissions are not paid out of the builder's budget; they're paid out of the marketing budget of the builder. So they typically have more flexibility in pulling from a marketing budget back for you. So if you're trying to get a better deal on that, then consider all of the avenues, not just negotiating a lower price, but like Ian said, buying down rates, getting more commission, paying closing costs, things of that nature.
Man, I'm trying to find this article. Our favorite builder, I say that tongue in cheek, just partnered with Elon to bring in. I'm trying to find the article.
It's called Project Awesome.
Project Awesome. I think it's a bunch of bullshit. But Elon partnered. They're bringing in.
I'm not supposed to say it.
Yeah. They're bringing in 110. So I want to make a bigger point here. So Elon's building his own neighborhood because there's not enough inventory for the people coming to work at Tesla. They're partnering with a real estate or a builder that's not that great, in my opinion. But the challenge here is that there are other neighborhoods that are being built out in Austin right now that are purely being built for rentals. They're not even rent to own. They're just building out whole neighborhoods just specifically for rentals. So if we're talking about needing better affordability and we're needing more homes, do you think that developments like this are going to impact where we don't end up having enough inventory down the line? Let's say, and we're going to get into the 313 incentives because this is going to be a really, really important thing coming to the Austin area. But the overall question is, if we see more developments like this, will this impact inventory so we don't see a huge decline in prices? Ian.
That is such a deep question, because while you obviously want people to be able to afford where they live, we know that sales prices are increasing and it's still hard for people to buy in a lot of situations. And so what I feel it's doing is it's starting to separate even further. People that want to be able to buy, they have to come in with a certain level of income. They have to do that. And it's not the median income in the city. And so they're almost forced into this rental situation. And, the companies are capitalizing on it. We're in a capitalistic society. You can't really blame the companies for wanting to profit like that. I don't think it's good, in my opinion. I don't think it's good.
Christy Lou says, I think I know who the lion is. We looked at a property last summer of theirs.
I'd buy one of those right now.
Yeah. So Byron, I challenge you to watch my video from yesterday that I put out, because I didn't see this article, but my video really kind of does address what Goldman Sachs is saying here. If you look at the numbers in the middle of the year being at 667, and if we don't get any higher than 525, then yeah, we'll see a 25% down. But I'm saying, and these guys are saying, that we probably won't see 525 in the middle of the year, May. We'll probably see a little bit higher. So it's still not going to be 25% down. I mean, what are your thoughts on it being over 25% down based on the Goldman Sachs thing? I think we're rehashing this, but I want to make some points here on that. Kevin, go ahead, please.
Yeah, no, I was waiting for Ian to see if you wanted to say
I was waiting for you.
No, that's fine. I feel like, I appreciate it. I just don't want to take all the conversation. I think Goldman.
We missed you, man.
Yeah, I know. I appreciate that, guys. I miss you guys too. I always, when you say, "Are you ready to be on the show?" I always say, unequivocally, "Yes, I'm ready." I don't really care about what Goldman Sachs thinks, because these guys are they're living they're living in a vacuum of sensationalism. So, there are so many people that live in Austin. I met these guys when they're looking at houses. They just go to Google and they look at all the top search terms for something, and then they write articles based on that. So these guys are no different. They just have they're just trying to be sensational about it. They're looking at topics that they think people are going to be interested in, and then they make sensational predictions. I'm tired of the talking heads and financial institutions of this world trying to tell me what is going to happen, because if they were so smart, we wouldn't be in the position that we're in right now. So that either tells me that they don't know what they're doing, so why would I listen to what they're predicting? Or two, that they're doing it on purpose. So that makes me even more skeptical that they're saying this stuff, because I'm like, why are you saying that? Are you trying to tell me something, or you trying? I don't know. There's always some other reason. So I could care less what they think. I can tell you, working in this market, in my opinion, it hit the bottom just like it did the year before. It hit the bottom in October and November, and it's tipping back up again. When interest rates level out, the market's going to level a bit, and then it's going to keep climbing. We can come back and talk about this in a year, but if you go back to previous Migos episodes, I don't think the three of us have missed one of these predictions over 2 years. We've always said, this is kind of what's happening. This is what we think is going to happen. And it's happened every single time, every time.
Yeah. I mean, I did say my prediction, you weren't on this live stream, but it was Trey Serrano. I did say, I would imagine we'll be at around 6% for interest rates when everybody else was saying we'd be at 10%. And I was like criticizing Patrick McDavid for going, we're going to be at 10% interest rate. Now, we could still go to 10% interest rate, but I was still right saying we'd end the year right at 6%. So what's up with that? And Byron is saying that Goldman Sachs already corrected their numbers from 6.1 down to 2.6. And this is what's really interesting to me, and Ian, I want to get to you on this. What's really interesting to me on this is that last year you had Redfin, Zillow, all these saying that we're going to be up 17%. They were so bullish. And all three of us were going, I don't know, that doesn't really make sense. 17% up. I mean, not in Austin. And they were saying that. So, Ian, what are your take on this?
You know, it's interesting because it's almost like they're all drinking from the same well.
Yeah.
And I think that's just it, right? Like they're all competing with each other. And so they have to change the numbers a little bit to get us all, like you said, it's sensationalism, to get us all a little worried. I think what happens is when they do that, they just get more people on their websites paying attention.
Yeah.
And then they just sell it to us, sell it to realtors. So that's just part of their strategy.
So you're saying like companies will sensationalize things, maybe bait one brokerage to debate another brokerage for clicks and views on their channel.
Maybe, man.
I don't know. I don't know who would be doing that. I'm just not saying anything in the comments here that would be, trying to get clicks or anything, Byron. But all right, I want to shift gears real quick. I mean, any other questions about the housing market? Anything you guys want to say about the market before we go into the 313 incentives? Because I think this is what worries me the most about going into 2023, 2024 for the Austin area, besides property taxes being absolutely absurd. Any last thoughts on the market or anything you want to talk about there?
No, pass.
Pass. All right, cool. So I talked about this yesterday briefly in my video, and I chatted with Kevin on this. Kevin, by the way, before we got on this, and somebody should start asking this in the question, we were talking about my previous video where I was talking about what's happening in Austin, and Kevin said something. Kevin, we're putting you on your blast right here. Kevin said he's not exactly happy with all the development in Austin. If somebody wants to hear that, write that comment. But let's talk about the 313 incentives. Let's go there. Byron says 90% of agents that are sick of the Real and EXP private Zooms want the debate. Good for y'all. I don't know what brokerages he's talking about there. I only recognize the Real one. So here's the deal. So here's the deal. So here's what Texas decided to do. So at the end of last year, the Chapter 313 incentives were removed. And so what would happen with these big developments that were coming in, so like Samsung, all these big companies, right? Apple, Dell, all of those, what they would do is they would negotiate, because the taxes are very expensive for businesses here. So what they decided to do was remove, it was part of just the legislature, the Chapter 313 incentives would give like a 40% break to companies for coming here, building a business, building a huge complex. We lost Micron, was one of the ones that we lost. We just lost Intel, went to Ohio over Austin, because they couldn't get 313 incentives, because with the way the taxes work is like, what is it? Like 60% of the taxes actually go to the school district And in Austin, we get recapture. So they actually go back to the state and the state distributes them. So what are your thoughts on the 313 incentives being removed? And what does that actually mean for the Austin area and for Texas trying to get some of these big businesses to move here? Yeah, Kevin, we'll start with you.
Well, I want to hear what Ian says, because I think he knows a bit more potentially.
So we saw what happened with Micron. We lost them to New freaking York. Like, how did that happen? Right? And I think we may end up in that situation a little more frequently. You hear these stories, all these businesses are starting in Delaware because they're so tax favorable. And we're sitting here thinking, well, we want businesses to come here. It helps growth, helps jobs. Yet we would make a move like this. So I think the counter question would be, and this is for anybody who owns a home, would you move here if you didn't get a homestead exemption or the possibility of an ag exemption or any of these tax breaks for being a property owner? Because that's the same thing that we're saying about these businesses. Hey, we want you to come here, but we're not going to give you any deals.
I mean, again, I would love to see some form of tax break, and then here's the thing is some people don't want tax breaks. In this article, they even talk about, it was some church, Episcopal church of interfaith, was saying that we don't want the 313 incentives, right? So it's interesting.
They already don't pay taxes. What?
Well, they don't.
That's like 100% VA. Of course you don't want it.
Yeah. Under the program, manufacturing energy companies would apply to local school districts for the break and have been approved for billions of dollars in property tax breaks. It has been used by like Tesla while setting up its electric vehicle, whatever. So Samsung used it. That's what got them into Taylor. So things like that. So Kevin, what are your thoughts? You heard what Ian said. So
yeah,
what are your thoughts?
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously, like I'm familiar with incentives. I wasn't as familiar with this program until you mentioned we talked about it. I did a little bit more research on that side to see kind of what the details were. But I know that there's essentially what you're doing is you're as a company, you're bribing and I know it's an aggressive word, but it is what it is because it's what they do in development. You're grease. What do they call that? When I was working at Caterpillar, they actually had a class for us for international travel, that if you happen to be traveling in a country that culturally likes it, like in the Middle East or in Africa, there are some countries that when you're visiting as a Caterpillar employee, sometimes you have to grease the skids, which means pay a little extra money to the guy that's traveling to let you through the gate so that you can go do your business. And that's part of a cultural thing. In development across the world and across the country, for sure, this is the same thing. You're greasing the skids of the county and saying, we will give you extra money to go towards the school district if you give us some other benefits later on. And they do this as well. Like one of the developers downtown that's doing a big building, they're actually paying money to affordable housing, and in return, able to violate some of the current development guidelines to add more units into the building. So this is kind of the way it works. I am a firm believer that none of this is even required, that a business is going to go where they want to be anyway. And there's no way as an area like Austin, if they don't see the value of having a business here, then I don't blame a company. They're here for profits, bottom line. I don't blame them for looking everywhere in the country to see where they're going to make the most money. And it doesn't matter if we offer it or not. We can't control what other cities, states, whatever offer in terms of incentives, regardless of this program.
Well, just like with residential, people are moving for love or money, right? Businesses are moving for money or talent is what it seems, right? That's why a lot of businesses are making these decisions. Austin is a high talent pool. So I have a counter proposal. Sorry, I hear the dog barking in the background.
That's my dog. Sorry.
What do you think about this? Let's say the 313 ends, and now these businesses aren't getting that incentive, but also the city. I wanted to talk about what they're receiving in taxes. Do you think it'll affect what our property tax values are? Because these companies aren't getting the discounts anymore. That's really what I'm curious about. Curious about.
Gone surfing. I smell some up dog. But that's a good point. I would like to see less money. Like, here's the thing that really just annoys me about the tax system in general is that so much money goes to school taxes, or so much of the taxes go to the schools, but we don't see any improvement in the schools. Like, I just left the school district to go to another school district because it was not what I was hoping for my child. So do we see a point where people start leaving Texas because taxes get too expensive, and then businesses say, oh, hey, all the talent's leaving because it's too expensive. All this money is going to taxes. When does our legislature and when does the city of Austin decide, hey, we should ease up on the money spigot? Is that something that actually happens?
No, I don't think I agree with you, Jeremy. I think that too much of the money is actually too much property taxes going to the schools. I think generally speaking, we need major reform in all taxed areas in the country. I know that there's some work going towards like proposing eliminating income tax and moving towards like a value-added tax model. And then property tax, the governor has said we had a surplus in their budget because of the property taxes, because of the
I think it was because of sales tax, not property tax.
No,
I'll have to one of the taxes.
He mentioned property tax. I read.
Okay. I missed it then.
But the reality is, because the property values went up so fast, they weren't budgeting for that to be even required. And he's like, we're going to try to find a way to give back to people, whether it's you may be right, it may be sales tax as well. But the reality is, across the board, I think we need some changes in that area. But specifically, like, if I live in an area where my kids don't go to the school, I mean, essentially, if you have a normal priced home in Austin, a median priced home in Austin in the city actually pays more to the public school in terms of your portion of your portion of taxes that go to the public school district than I pay to send my kid to a good Christian private school here. So in that regard, your kids should be getting in public school a equivalent private school education in terms of the cost of tuition per child. And it doesn't really work like, I know a household child, whatever, but it's not. Jeremy's right. The school districts, this is basically to just have them maintain and make some slight improvements, but they're not drastically increasing the quality of life or education for anything in the public school system. So why is so much of the money going there? Not to mention, I mention this all the time. I don't remember the exact number. I think it's somewhere between like 7% to 11% of your property taxes actually go to Austin Community College.
What a scam.
A private financial institution, basically. You're paying to go there. And I just think those things are unfair because not everybody participates in them.
Did you see Rod's comment about the governor touting a plan to take the school tax out of property tax, like segregate them entirely?
Well, I mean, if you think about it, so like, here's the problem. Like Austin, and people got mad at me for talking about the bond that just passed as a $2 billion bond. And, some people are like, well, we need these funds to pay for teacher salaries. Nothing in the $2 billion bond that they just passed actually went to teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's bad.
And so I think this is the problem, is that we're told, oh, we need all these funds. We need these. So think about it. They put another $2 billion bond on top of all of the taxes that you're already spending. On top of that, we just raised taxes for, what was it, $7.5 billion for light rail or whatever they're going to do with the rail system. That's going to end up being a $14 billion project, maybe $20 billion project.
Yeah.
I mean, ridiculous. So you're adding more taxes to that. And then where this all ties into with the 313 and everything is the unaffordability problem. You have people that keep voting for bonds like this that are renting, and they go, I can't afford to buy. The taxes are so expensive. I can't buy. I'm gonna have to rent forever. And then you're putting yourself in that perpetual loop of renting forever.
Yeah.
It's emotional.
Or they vote for this stuff and then they leave because it's like, there was somebody wrote a comment right here. All the terrible school district talk. Where have I heard this before? Where did I leave? I mean, that's what we turn into.
Yeah, but that brings me, I was going to mention that earlier. My girlfriend was telling me that San Diego was actually proposing. I don't know if you heard that. Jeremy, you're a San Diegan, right?
Yeah.
San Diegoan.
No, I'm a Texan.
But yes, but you had spent a little time there.
Yeah, I had some San Diegan blood for a while.
But that they were proposing some new taxes on like basically, I don't remember the specific, but basically mileage on cars because they're trying to tax you out of driving your vehicle to get you to get vehicles off the road there to reduce traffic.
Texas
And so,
already does that.
I mean,
I have to get a emissions check on my electric vehicle.
right.
too.
But
It's like, wait, what?
But tax on mileage to me is also, like, as a realtor, it kind of pisses me off. But
I mean, all of it, they have to make money. You know, it's still a business, run like a business. They have to get registration. There are all these things they have to do.
they don't have to do them. They don't have to do them. I shouldn't be taxed every single year or have to register a vehicle every single year that I have nothing's changed. I bought the vehicle. I own it. I shouldn't have to re-register the vehicle and pay taxes on it every single year.
It should be like a T47. Did I make any changes? No. Great. You're done. Good.
Yeah.
If you made changes, you get it checked out. All right. It's still good. Or maybe I pay a small fee there.
Nobody gets the T47 reference.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
It's all right. Dan says multi-million-dollar high school stadiums are expensive here. I mean, that's where the money goes.
The football stadiums. Absolutely.
Yeah. There was another comment.
But you can't have shows like Friday Night Lights if you don't invest in your football teams, your high school teams.
Charles Wheat, welcome back, man. Haven't seen you in a while. Orange County is doing the same thing, the same type of thing and raising property taxes. That's why I moved to Orange County to Leander. All right. So let's talk about some fun stuff, guys. I mean, we've talked about all the negatives. Do you want to talk about this some more?
Let's go. Fun stuff. Let's go. Fun stuff.
Yeah. Everybody's talking about.
I was having fun dreaming about less taxes.
Yeah. One quick question I want to get from you all here. West Coast says, I got back to you, bro. I promised in my brain. I promised you. How much of new inventory is being left out of the MLS? Record high construction. And then Dan Cox responded to West Coast saying, rumor has it quite a lot, especially builder inventory. What are your thoughts on builder inventory?
159%. There's some builders that will put 1 or 2 inventory homes, like two different models in the MLS. And then all the other projects don't go in the MLS. The only reason they put those in there is so that you have a funnel for them to collect your information, right? To get you in there. And then, but all these other houses, they don't want to deal with the appraisals and everything. So they just leave it out of the MLS. They don't want to deal with any of that sort of stuff. So that's really frustrating. Some builders won't put anything in there at all. And then you have a few that'll put everything in there, but it's not very many.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, I've seen stuff that's not on the MLS. You know, you go to a builder, but this is what they were doing back in the middle of the pandemic too. If they had 40 lots to sell, they'd say, we only have 4. Everybody's got to bid on these 4. And then they release 4 more. We have these 4. Everybody's got to bid on these 4. And that's where that if you want to blame anything for prices going up, that was largely the problem because you couldn't buy resale. So you'd go to new construction. You were paying 150 grand over list price, basically. The same thing over in new construction. So I think there'll be a lot of new construction stuff that you don't see hit the MLS, and you'll see a lot of private sales. That way their numbers, their overall on market numbers stay high, right? So if I'm advertising homes for 500, but you come in and I have this one listed on the MLS for 500 and I go, hey, by the way, I have a same square foot, a little bit smaller, maybe over here for 450, buy this one off market. And then you sell the MLS one for 500. Now it looks like your sales are inflated a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. So that also, I mean, do you think that's something that it's happening with some of these builders?
It also looks like our median price point's going up.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sure. Why would you list, if you had 2 of the same or very similar floor plans with similar elevations, why would you list them both on MLS? Yeah. Like people don't care. They're going to be like, okay, one's a replacement for the other. Just show me what you have. They're going to go there and be like, okay, do you have anything else that's similar? And they'll say, yeah, we do. So I don't blame them for not doing this. I don't think it's sneaky. I think it's good business from a builder standpoint.
Well, there's lots of fees to list things on the MLS, lots of logistics. You got to pay for all this. I understand it too. I'm just,
I would say
there's no transparency at all. And I'm not saying there should be. I'm saying there isn't any.
I would say, though, that's not common on every builder, though, because some of the communities I checked don't have anything that's not on MLS, and some don't have anything on MLS that's actually available. So
there's some that are even pre-built. So they won't put it on the MLS. They'll start taking private bids and all that sort of stuff. And then when they already have the buyer contracted, they'll put it on the MLS just for appraisal and for Calls.
Mm.
Kind of fun.
Joe, I love you, bro. It's not a kickback, it's a donation.
Yeah, it's a donation.
It's a donation. All right. So I want to get your take on this, Kevin. It's been a while since you've been on the show. In fact, it's been a while since we've had the show. So we were talking about developments. We're going to talk about some of the developments that are happening and some of the fun stuff coming. We got about 15 minutes left. You said you weren't happy with all of it.
Yeah.
But you were happy with Hermes coming here, if I said that correctly.
He was the reason they came.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, I was glad that they came because of it solidifies a specific demographic that I would love to see continually moving to the area, because those are the clients that I would like to work with more often than not. So I don't mind that at all. So and I keep an eye on those. I keep an eye on developments pretty tightly to see like what types of businesses are coming here. I also visit a lot of these places to see what the foot traffic looks like, to see what the general vibe is, if people are very happy. I know, for example, let me just bust everyone's bubble and tell you that the people that hated that SoCo, South Congress, which used to be a very eclectic, walkable neighborhood and a lot of local stuff, a lot of those places are closing down. But with the Music Lane development, and then a lot of restaurants have come in through there. There's new businesses. Tecovas, which is a boot company based out of here in Austin, they moved from one space to one of the older classic SoCo spaces and renovated it and made it very nice. And now that the foot traffic there is as strong or stronger than it ever was in the classic Austin style. So I see these developments as a way to for the city to keep keeping some of the culture and pushing forward. Another big example is this building downtown. The largest, the tallest building just got rejected because they didn't include enough space on the bottom floor to have like outdoor dining and other types of experiences. They felt like the design was too isolated and not including Austin. So I love seeing that. Now, going back to what you were saying before, some of the developments, though, I'm a little irritated by, because the ones that are getting approved or like local money that's choosing partners in development, they're not choosing good local options. They're going with, like, for example, and you had mentioned this before, and this was already in the back of my mind, is this Project Awesome partnering with one of the largest national builders. I think that's a massive mistake to do something like that. I think they should partner with a local builder, even partner with like Icon on 3D printed homes and do something like that. Yeah. Like there's no reason for them to do something.
Lennar is partnered with Icon as well.
I know, but I don't like that Lennar is partnered with
and Icon's laying people off. There's an article about that.
I don't know.
It's a donation. Yeah. Right. Lennar's giving donations to make this happen.
Yeah.
Right?
Like, everybody is. It's the money. Yeah. It's at this point, this is the hottest area to develop. And I know for a fact that the developers are blazing forward, because we just hired an architect to do a storage facility next door to development. That development at the end of the year actually got approval to go higher in building height and to build more high-rise Class A high-rises in a not very dense area already. And so,
the height helps with impermeable coverage.
Yeah, but this is an area. This is like a 250-acre property. So, and there's no density in that area yet, and they're already getting approval to build like 8 stories high in a what is currently a remote area.
This storage unit, it's not going on 35, is it?
No.
I'm sick of storage units on I-35.
No. Off Palmer, so probably just as bad. Anyways, that's all I have to say.
Yeah, I mean, look, I understand where people wouldn't be happy with all developments coming, and especially people in Austin that have been here for years. We do have to change, and you were the person that was all excited about all these developments coming here, Kevin. Yeah. And now you're not as excited.
Some of them, yeah. Some of them I still am, but some of them I think are becoming haphazard.
I agree. I think
Kevin a little bit. I
Go
think
ahead.
he's excited about the development and the progression. He's not excited about the partnerships they're choosing,
right.
Yeah.
and the way the developments are shaping up to be.
I agree, because every time you open the business journal and you look at the projects that are coming here, it's like such and such his part. I mean, but hey, I gotta finish my thought. Hold on. I got two thoughts here. Such and such is partnered with a Chicago-based company. Such and such is partnered with a Phoenix-based company, a Colorado-based company, Utah. So you don't get as much local Texas companies investing in Austin. It's all these outside companies investing in Austin. So that is a problem. And they don't, especially like if they're not here, they don't understand what Austin's about. So I see the problem with that. But Ian's favorite burger place did sell out to Chicago. Whataburger is no longer a Texas-based company.
Oh, wow.
You know, it's so interesting because I think about it in the guise of real estate agents a little bit, right? Like we partner with agents all across the country intentionally because people are moving back and forth. And you got to think at a macro level, these companies are doing the same type of thing, right? If they're worried about the talent or they're worried about having, you know, like locations that they can send their talent pools to or get better investments or better breaks on their taxes, I see it. They're doing the same thing that we're all doing. So we can't really have they called real. We can't really be upset that they're doing that, Kevin.
Well, I'm not, some of this I'm not upset about, but what I don't want this to end up being, because developments are blazing forward, is that this ends up being a mindless commercial wasteland of instantaneous developments. You know what I mean? Like that they're actually taking the time to integrate new developments into the culture that Austin provides. I was making that Music Lane example because they're doing an excellent job of doing very modern, very high-end developments and integrating it into the neighborhoods that already do exist.
Yeah.
And so that's the part I don't want to see, is where somebody just comes in and says, like the Statesman property, the Austin Statesman property, which is going to be developed. Also the corner of Lamar and Ben White, that whole thing is going to be wiped and developed. I don't want to see those happen really fast and they end up being full of TJ Maxx's. You know what I mean?
I was going to say, do we know what the Statesman's going to be turned into?
Yeah, it's mixed use office and retail and housing.
Well, I mean, look, if you look at, there's neighborhoods that I think that are really cool. Like if you look at the Grove on 45th Street, I did a full video about that. It should come out in the next couple of weeks. Those are pretty cool because you're integrating a lot of that Austin balance to it. And so I agree with you 100%. And this is kind of what I alluded to in the video I made the other day. And a lot of people gravitated that video because there's a lot of new people here watching our content from that video. But I agree. I don't want to see just a bunch of four-sided data centers out here. I want to see what we've been enjoying. And what makes Austin so amazing is all the outdoor integrated spaces. Like prime example, Loro, great little restaurant, indoor, outdoor, great little spot. There's so many restaurants and things like that, especially if you go downtown. And I fully agree with the fact that they push back on that building for not having enough downstairs open area space, because that is what makes Austin great.
I want an indoor horseback paintball arena with a built-in bar and axe throwing alley.
You know, I was paintball tournament. Right? I was in paintball
for
tournament.
Sure.
I'm down. Let's do it.
Horseback paintball.
We'll just have to buy all of Lockhart and then we'll create it ourselves.
Lockhart would be a good place.
I hear Lockhart's for sale.
We'll have Houston versus Austin battles. It's great.
Molotopia is going to have all this. So
I'm sure it is.
So
with skyscrapers and everything. Yeah, I love it. Cityscape.
Yeah, I'm gonna do every kitschy Texas thing that these people do. Like everything's gonna have a cowboy hat. Everything's gonna look like
you can't press up against it.
Every person that's dressed in my restaurants is gonna look like they stepped off the set of Yellowstone, or what's the name of that?
Yeah, Yellowstone.
1893
or whatever it's called. 1819.
We're gonna have a barbecue fusion Whataburger.
That's not a terrible idea.
Barbecue fusion Whataburger?
I think it would be terrible, but there are a lot of people that will buy it.
We're gonna have a barbecue fusion coffee shop with brisket lattes.
Yeah. Major Tom says ground control to Major Tom. Says Austin's a great day trip or a night out. living in San Marcos and New Braunfels is where is that? I love New Braunfels. I bought an investment property there for that reason. But all right, well, look, we're at about an hour, and so I'm going to cut it off right here. Kevin, thanks for joining, man.
Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it every time. Love you guys.
If you guys want more questions, more of this content, drop it below. Drop comments on the replay. We want to get more of your question answers. If you want more videos or more content, or you're looking for some other stuff about Austin, drop that in the comments as well. I'll try to get that content out. Otherwise, we will see you next week on Real Amigos. Watch the other content. Clips are on Sunday. Peace.
Later.